What is going on, my fellow conspirator and conspirators? Welcome to the Underground Marketing Conspiracy. Woo!
Woo!
All right, awesome, guys. Today I'm joined by Lisanne Murphy. Now, she is the creator of Midas Touch Social, a Facebook advertising agency and consultancy firm that specializes in what she calls dream traffic. Awesome. Her clients learn and apply behavioral psychology principles and techniques to their messaging, offers, and campaigns to drive explosive business growth. Her techniques are what landed her podcast in the number 18 spot in business entrepreneurship within 24 hours of launch. Guys, I'm so excited. I want to introduce Lisanne. Lisanne, how are you today?
Oh man, Maddie, it is a pleasure and dream to be on with you and your listeners today. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you are so welcome. I'm so excited. We planned this a while back and it's finally coming together. I have so many people who have asked me about Facebook ads too. And I'm like, all right, I got to get her on too because she's an expert. She knows everything. So I have like a million people who are like, when are you getting someone who's great? And I'm like, I'm working on it, dude. Like it's coming. I'm getting like the person I want. So you're it. All right, cool. So let's get started. Like, how did you get started in the internet marketing world?
Man, that's such a good question. Well, I have a very traditional background. I'm the first entrepreneur in my family, and so I totally bought into, because it was like the only pattern I knew, to go to school, get a job, and just be happy with whatever job you land. My dad grew up in England, and he came over from England with like a suitcase and was a total self-starter, and for like he really did live the American dream. And so I was just like so proud to be a part of that heritage. And then after I graduated with my undergrad but I always had a hard time finding out where I would fit. I mean, I changed my major like 4 times and just had a really tough time. And I eventually landed a job after my undergrad that I was obsessed with. I mean, it matched so many of my talents and skill sets. I was able to teach, I was able to strategize, I was impacting lives. It was amazing. But I knew that the job was going to be a short-term job. It was like a contract position, or like you can do this for 5 years, but after that, like it's time to move on. And while I was there, it was actually the place where, so I hired one of my best friends, and then she hired Catherine Jones to work at the same place. And Catherine Jones, who's the creator of CF Design School, and you know very well, Maddie.
Oh, of course.
She found the internet first. So, so she discovered the internet, and she approached Brooke and I, and she said, guys, we have to create something online. And so based on our talents and where we were either in college or just finished college. We were like, let's create a course to help college students find more purpose and meaning in their life and not just get lost in like going to classes and trying to figure out what they're going to do. And so, but there's 2 problems. Like when you create a course, people need to have time to do the course and money to buy the course. Well, what are the 2 things that college students do not have?
Yep.
Time and money. So we learned a really, really important lesson about understanding your dream customer and understanding your market. Like good products die in bad markets. And they aren't bad, but college students aren't bad people, but it was a bad market. So like that business, just tanked. So Brooke and I were like, okay, well, this entrepreneur thing, it's harder than it seems. So we go back to corporate, where Catherine is like ruthless. And she's like, no, I still see the vision. I have to figure it out. So she stays in. She eventually pulls Brooke out into the entrepreneurial world, and I'm still in corporate. By this time I have a master's degree. I'm working in corporate marketing. And, but I just wasn't satisfied. And so while I was working in marketing, I had an opportunity to run Facebook ads for this company that I was doing. And the results were just out of this roof. And I was like, there's something to this, because I mean, I'll keep this story on the shorter side. But while I was in my master's degree, I actually started a real estate investing firm, dumped every bit of savings I had into it, and it failed miserably.
Wow.
So I was like 2 strikes, and I was like, oh my gosh, I guess I can't do this entrepreneur thing. But what I realized was that what I was missing with the content business that I created with Catherine and with the real estate business was that leads are the lifeblood to any business.
Yeah.
No matter how great your business is, if you don't have leads, your business is going to die.
Yep.
So it was one of the reasons why I ended up in corporate marketing, was to understand, like, how do you bring in leads? And while I was there, I discovered the power of Facebook. And so I bought every course that I could on Facebook. I saddled myself with the best coaches that were doing advertising for some of the top people in the industry, like Billie Jean is marketing and Joe Polish. And I just dove head first, and I didn't even realize the skill I was building until Catherine came back around and said, "Hey, I heard you're good at Facebook ads. Will you try to run some ads for CF Design School?" And I said, "Sure, I'll give it a try." And we started running ads, and like they just started, courses started growing, and the group started growing, and courses started selling like hotcakes. And so Catherine was looking at me like, "You have an incredible talent. You have to start a business." And I was like, "I don't know."
I can see Catherine saying it exactly like that too.
Yeah. And so eventually I listened to her. So I left corporate, started my Facebook ads agency, and have been doing that for the last couple of years. And it has been an incredible ride. I have an education platform where I teach people how to run Facebook ads. I have an agency where I run ads for entrepreneurs that aren't as certain that they want to learn it, and have a bunch of other huge plans in 2020.
Wow.
So
Wow.
yeah,
Amazing.
that's kind of like
such a good backstory.
the medium version of length of the backstory.
Awesome. All right. So you're a media buyer. You do lots of Facebook ads. Do you work with any specific industries?
Yeah, I love that question. And it's really, really important. I mean, you have to find what you're good at and niche down at that. So I have like two main categories that I've found like this love and joy for. The main one that I work with is with high ticket coaches and course creators. And the reason why I love working with that, honestly, is like Facebook it's one of the most challenging niches to run Facebook ads for, because the point of conversion is so far in the funnel. It's not like where e-com, where like you're selling, like some widget for like 20 to 30 bucks. And like your point of conversion, like you can acquire a customer for like $5 to $10.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you're looking to acquire a customer, like if you're selling a course, like for a couple $100. And if it's for a coach, depending on their coaching program, I mean, you could be willing to spend a couple $1,000s to acquire a client. And so like the point of conversion is just, you have to spend a lot to like even understand if things are working. To me, that's really exciting. To a lot of people, that's like kind of freaky. And then my other thing that I work with is with lifestyle e-com brands. So not like just like drop shippers that are just selling stuff, but like people where they have a brand and they're building a following alongside of their e-com products. So those have been the two niches that I've had a ton of success with.
Awesome.
And I'm sticking with it.
Amazing. All right, sweet. So many people are running Facebook ads these days. Like I'm in a bunch of groups, and there's so many people in these groups. What would you say the biggest mistake that you see is that people make with their Facebook ads?
Yeah, this is something that I think about a lot, right? Because like as marketers, we're always looking for like, what is the biggest pain point? Like where are people going wrong? And it's best explained like this. So Facebook, like it is the word that I use to describe Facebook is precision. And the best example I can think of to describe this is like, think of like a brain surgeon. Like a brain surgeon is like, if you have something going on in your brain, it is in a very, very specific spot, and it's in a very tenuous position because it affects like every function of your body. And so a brain surgeon has to be incredibly talented, incredibly specific, incredibly precise to be able to go in there and find the issue in the brain and fix it, right? Now imagine like if you're going to a brain surgeon and you're like, okay, I got your tools for you today, and you have a hammer, a saw, some kitchen shears, maybe some kitchen tongs, and some nails. And you're like, here are your tools to perform brain surgery. Like the surgeon would just laugh you silly. It'd be like, are you kidding me? Like, get this person out of here. Get me my trained nurse and who has like my scalpel and my laser and my microscope and all the tools. I'm not a surgeon, so I excuse my lack of understanding of the tools. But People often approach Facebook with blunt, dull, ineffective tools. And the way they do that is they are not specific in what they're trying to do with Facebook or who they're trying to talk to or what problem they're trying to solve.
Mm.
And it just turns into a botched crap show surgery.
Yes, it always does.
And what that looks like with Facebook is that it becomes way more expensive to acquire a client than you actually need to spend. Mm-hmm. Because Facebook is like the brain surgeon that's like, sure, I'll try the surgery with these tools. So it goes in with the tools that you give it, tries to do it, and it just turns into a mess. And the way it's a mess is it just drains your bank account. So that's the biggest problem, is not being specific and not using Facebook the way that it was built to be used.
That was like the best explanation I have ever heard, honestly. Like precision, that blew my mind, because like you explained it so much better. I've been trying to think of the word, and that is exactly it. So that is perfect. All right. So one of the things I get is they're like, hey man, here's my Facebook account. It hasn't been working. Try and fix it. And then I go in and it's so disorganized and they haven't been maintaining anything. All right. So nothing's in order. What tips do you have for people so they can organize it, and so that like all the campaigns and ad sets and ads are just easy to find and easy to navigate?
Yeah. So ad campaigns can get really messy really quick. And so, and the reason why they get messy really quick is because Facebook is full of levers to pull. And with each page, like with like the campaign level and the ad set level and the ad level, like they all have a variety of levers that you can pull that create different results in the actual ad performance. So what happens is people go in and they pull these different levers, but then they're like, they name their stuff like test 1. And it's like, what the heck is test 1? Like, I don't know what that is.
I saw that the other day. That wasn't an ad account I went in. It was test 1, 2, test 1, test 1, test 2, test 3.
And that might not be a problem if there's really detailed documentation, like say in like a Google sheet, but that doesn't happen. Right. Or you'll see women US 25 to 40. Like that's exactly how they name things. You have to come up with a nomenclature tool that indicates to you what levers you're pulling and why you're pulling them.
Okay. So before, and even on that question, you talked about tools and software, all right? So you talked about like the surgeon. So like what tools and software do you use in your tech stack, and what do you recommend people use?
Yeah. So Facebook is really amazing. And honestly, like to run successful ads, like, I mean, you have to have a dialed in system that you can run ads to. Like a funnel is very, very important. Like if you're sending ads to a website, you're basically saying, Mark Zuckerberg, take my money.
Yeah.
But if you like have a dialed in funnel with a specific process, a specific customer journey that you're trying to drive people through, like barring you have all of that, like the Facebook Ads Manager really is what you need. So in terms of like supplemental things that I use outside of it just to help with organization, I use a lot of Google Sheets and Google Docs to track like what ad copies I am testing and what's working. So Facebook gives you stats, and you can either look at one day at a time or chunks at a time, but I keep a stat sheet every single day so that you can see trends, because trends are really, really important, especially in the advertising world, like because there are seasons, right? Like e-com around Christmas time is
Black Friday. It gets crazy.
It gets crazy because you have a lot of potential, but there's also so many sellers in the marketplace. So your CPM, or your cost to get in front of 1,000 people, will often double or triple during that season. And so if you're not aware of that, or like if you try to enter the marketplace at that time, you're like, what? This is so expensive. And you're like, well, you came in at a really crazy cycle. And so you have to understand the cycle of your market and your industry. And so that sheet helps with that. And then I also use a tool, and this is really honestly my secret weapon for audience targeting.
Oh, secret weapon. I love it.
Yes, I love it. So it is a tool created by Wilco DeCrae. I don't know if you know who
I
Wilco
do.
is.
I think I have this tool.
But it's called Connect Explore, Connect IO. He has like a whole
Yep.
suite of stuff.
I use that. It's awesome.
But that tool for finding audiences that you wouldn't necessarily suspect, because when you're typing audiences into Facebook, it'll only give you things that are exactly matched to what you type in on
Yep.
the ad set level. Whereas the Connect Explore will take your search from like an intent perspective. So that tool is honestly my secret weapon for audience building.
Amazing.
Like for cold interest audience building. Like obviously, like there's really incredible resources around lookalike audiences and things like that. But for cold interest targeting, that's really my secret weapon.
Awesome. I know that tool. I use it. He has a couple of other awesome tools as well, like UpViral, I think is his other one. He's someone where I've actually sent him an email earlier this week to be like, hey dude, I didn't want you on the show. So I'm hoping he'll reply.
That's awesome.
Worst case, I'll follow up with him. Yeah, I use that tool. It's definitely a secret weapon. So I recommend people use that as well. All right. So when you're doing any kind of split testing, and for those who don't really know what split testing is, it's like you have the control, which is like, okay, there's this version that's working, and then there's, let's try and beat that. Let's try and make a better version, all right? Or if it's not working, you take two different versions, see which one does better. So what kind of split tests do you run? Like what kind of A/B tests do you run when you want to see what's going to work better?
Yeah. Well, the great thing is that, and this is what people really need to understand is like Facebook, Facebook gets a bad rap, and a lot of people throw rocks at Facebook in order to like build up like organic tools or like shifting over to LinkedIn or like other social platforms or like TikTok or whatever. But like you have to remember that like it is in Facebook's best interest for you to succeed. Like, because if you succeed, you spend more money. And so the more money you make, the more money they make. So like they are not out to get you, friends. Like Facebook wants you to succeed. They really, really do. And because they want you to succeed, they're trying to make it easier and easier for people to succeed using Facebook. Now, I wish it was so easy that it was just like plug and play and like anyone can just put anything in there. And it's not like that easy. But Facebook has created the ability using, so like on the campaign level, for example, you can they have a tool called campaign budget optimization. And that's where your budget is managed on the campaign level. Now, if you've never done Facebook ads before, then like that was just Chinese and I apologize. But what it's saying is you're giving Facebook the most control to distribute your budget where it's going to work the best. And that, if you've set up your campaign right, that's actually a good thing. If you set it up wrong, it's like a disaster. But if you set it up right, it's a good thing. And then the other thing I love to use on the ad level is a thing called dynamic creative. And you actually, you set it off your ability to use it on the ad set level, which I've never understood why you give the option to use it on the ad set level, but it doesn't actually apply to the ad level. But what dynamic creative does is you put assets in there. So okay, so for example, if you're split testing assets, let's say you have 3 images, 3 sets of copy, and 3 headlines. If you were to manually split test those things, you would end up with 27 different ads. 3 times 3 times 3. Now, when I started Facebook 2 years ago, that was the only way to do it. And so if you wanted to do ads well. And so I cannot tell you how many hours I would spend creating and naming properly, so I knew exactly what everything was, all of these 27 different ads. And it was a pain in the butt. So Facebook now has created a system called Dynamic Creative where you can put those assets in and Facebook will do the testing for you. It's unbelievable. So, but you have to know how to read those results. So in the ads manager, there's a drop-down menu and it's called breakdown. And you can go to the dynamic creative and it'll show you exactly how the headlines are performing, how the copy is performing, and how the images or videos are performing. And it gives you specific stats on what conversions and what clicks came on what images. And from that, you need to put together a picture of like, okay, like this was the best headline, this was the best image, and this was the best copy. So I'm going to keep those and use them. The great thing is like if you duplicate, and this is a new feature that I love, if you duplicate a set of dynamic creatives and put that into another campaign because you're testing something else, the social proof that you create on the ads based on like the people that are commenting will carry through with dynamic creative, which is a new thing that is just unbelievable. Again, it makes it so much easier. So the A/B testing is really, really simple in Ads Manager. What's more complicated is knowing how to read it. And so that can take more work using the breakdown feature, but it saves so much time as a media buyer.
Yeah, definitely. Totally. Yeah. Back in the day to social proof it, I think I still see people doing this. You would have to like copy the permalink and from like the one that did well and then put it in. So yeah, this will save tons of time. All right. So many people get their ad accounts shut down with Facebook. All right. I see it every single day. Every single day it happens. I see it 4 or 5 times. Not going to lie. I see it all the time. So, all right. What can people do to prevent themselves from getting in, let's call it Zuckerberg jail?
Yeah. So I love this question, and my answer is going to be more simple than people like to hear, but just read the policies. Like so many people put stuff out there innocently, not knowing that it's breaking some of Facebook's ad policies. And then they get ticked off that their ad account was shut down, and Facebook's like, well, you didn't read. Like, you got to read. So honestly, like the best thing is like, it takes like 5 minutes to read through the policies. Like all you got to do is go to whatever the website is, and it's very simple. It's like facebook.com/ad policies. And figure out, like read through it, thinking about your product or service and think, where could Facebook potentially get me? So you're like, okay, they could get me on policy 5, 16, and 27. You just like pull those out, you keep them next to you, or you give them to your copywriter, whoever's writing your ads, and you just make sure you don't break the rules. If you don't break the rules, then you'll be fine. So the biggest reason that people get shut down is because of their ad copy. The next biggest reason is people have to realize that Facebook scans your ad, but they also scan your landing page. So if you're breaking a Facebook rule on your landing page, you can also get shut down for that. Facebook also cares about that customers have a congruent experience between the ad and the landing page. So like if your ad is like, hey, buy this thing, you're needed. And then your landing page is like, join this service that'll help you. Facebook's like, what? Like you're selling a thing, but then like you're selling a different thing on your landing page. They don't like that. So if you're going to sell thing A on your ad, make sure you're selling thing A on your landing page. So congruency, following the ad policy, and then also like stay away from bit.ly links. Like they can be accepted sometimes, but like Facebook wants to see that you have a real URL. So like www.maddiemilligan.com. Like that's what they want to see. They don't want to see like secret URL, you don't know where I'm taking the customer.com, you know? And so those are like the biggest things that people miss when they're creating ads that lead to their jail time.
I think it always goes back to what Catherine says, which is don't be dumb. Okay. That's a big thing that Catherine says. She's like, dude, don't be dumb. And I'm like, yeah, I'm being dumb. You're right. All right. So, all right. So it's a new year, a new decade. If you had a magic crystal ball of destiny and you were to gaze into the future, all right, what kind of changes do you see happening to, I guess, Facebook and Facebook ads over the next year, over the next decade, and just in the near future in general?
Yeah. I love that question. So I think it's really important to realize that there's two things that I'm thinking a lot about with Facebook. One is that there's over 1 billion active users on Facebook every single day. Like my mind can't wrap my mind around that. That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
Now, I was listening to Perpetual Traffic, which is a podcast on Facebook ads, and
Molly Pittman. I love Molly Pittman.
Yeah, Molly Pittman. And she's amazing. she was talking about how there's over 1 billion active Facebook users every single day. There are only 60,000 Facebook business admins. Like, so like take that disparity, and you have to be able to run ads, you have to be a business admin. And there are only at any given time about 7,000 active advertisers. So like the market, like people are always like, oh, Facebook's so crowded, like there's no room for me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you have the most scarcity mindset I've ever heard if you think that, because you are one of 7,000 people running ads to 1 billion people. Now, granted, your whole audience isn't that billion. Your audience is going to be in that billion, but like your audience is in there. And so while it's becoming more popular and more crowded, you can still win because very few people actually know how to run Facebook ads. And so if you take the time to figure it out, like you're going to win. The second thing I'm really trying to think about is, because of all the crackdowns that Facebook has had with all their privacy issues, with their involvement in influencing elections and all that stuff. That's the reason why a lot of ad accounts are getting shut down and they're just being a lot more strict. And so it's more challenging. But Facebook is rewarding people that are telling stories and creating communities. And so like the days of like clickbait ads where it's like, hey, I'm Lisanne, here's my thing, buy it. Like those days are gone. But Facebook loves, and people react better to when you tell a compelling story, you identify with the customer, and then you say, this was a solution that worked for me, it might work for you. And so what I'm thinking about is like, how can I tell stories more compellingly, and how can I create communities? Because those are the things that Facebook is rewarding. And that's really the direction that advertising is going right now, is just the power of the story, because the internet is just becoming more and more saturated. And so you have to identify with people. You can't appeal to the masses. You have to like say, hey friend, put your arm around their shoulder, say, I understand you. And, give them a little pep talk and take their credit card in the process.
It's so true though. Facebook is all about communities. I don't know if you heard this, but they just bought a spot at Super Bowl just for Facebook groups. So there's going to be an ad on Super Bowl just for Facebook groups. So I think they spent like 10 or 15 million dollars, I don't know, for like one spot. And I was like, oh wow. So like I'm doubling down on groups. Like I'm creating a group very shortly. I've been saying it for a while, but I'm creating a group just because of that one thing. All right. So what sort of things are you working on right now?
I love that question. So, because it's the beginning of the year, people are focused on ads, and they want to make sure that their goals can be met. And so, in the beginning of 2020, I'm ramping up my coaching side of my business, because
Nice.
my agency side is pretty much tapped out for the first quarter. But the coaching side is not. So I'm ramping up my coaching in the first quarter. One of the ways I'm doing that, funny, like you say, I'm going to be launching a new group, which I'm actually going to be rebranding my current group. And I've been talking about that for a long time as well. I just am like, okay, let's get through Funnel Hacking Live, and then we'll do that. That'll be February's work. So that's a huge like Q1 goal that I have. And then the second thing is this whole business, like you talked about in my intro, in terms of helping people understand what dream traffic is. Like the difference between my clients that like scale really easily to 7 figures and those that just hit ceilings, it is a direct correlated connection to how well they understand the people they're serving and the problem they're solving. Like that is, it's just a direct correlation. And so I get people all the time. Like I talked to a woman just yesterday who she's an amazing woman, but like she's bought every program under the sun and has had a really hard time acting on anything. And she was like, I think Facebook ads are the answer. And so I want to start selling affiliate things on Facebook. And I'm just like, well, if your commissions are like $400 to $800 on that product, and like you're going to spend $200 to $300 to $400 to even acquire a customer. Like, it's not going to be worth your time and effort to do that. And if you don't have a following and you're not doing any organic strategies, it's just going to get more expensive. And so I was like, I advised her, I was like, do not pay me money. Do not do Facebook ads. Like, I forbid you to do Facebook ads until you actually make some money organically. And so I want to create content to help people really nail the problem they're solving and the people that they're serving, so that when they get to ads, they're not just like flushing money down the drain. And so look forward to me in 2020, putting out lots of content about how to really dial in that dream customer. And I'm calling it dream traffic, because it's like traffic that's,
I love it.
It's going to be your dream.
Oh man, that is awesome. I wish I'd come up with that as a copywriter. I'm so jealous right now. That's so good. Oh man. All right. So where can people find out more about you? Or where do you want them to go after this? Like, how can they, work with you? Like where can they find you?
I love it. So, and I appreciate you even asking and giving that opportunity. So, the easiest place is either on, Facebook. It'd be silly if I didn't say Facebook, right? Because I'm a Facebook advertiser. So on Facebook, you can search for me, Lisanne Murphy. You can also find me on Instagram at Lisanne Murphy HQ. I'd love to give your audience a freebie that is honestly my private clients' like favorite tool. If you're okay with that.
I'm okay. Go for it.
Awesome. So that tool, so one of the reasons why Facebook can be challenging is because it spits out all these statistics at you and you're like, I don't know how to read these. I don't know how they correlate to the ad creatives. So I've created a sheet that outlines all of the stats and talks about how they're calculated, what they mean, where they come from, what ranges you should be looking for if they're healthy, depending on the industry that you're in, and how they relate to the ad creatives. It's like, it's so great. I love myself for creating it. So I would love to give that to your listeners, because it's seriously, it's like a cheat sheet for knowing like how your ads work. So you can get that at www.midastouchsocial.com. midastouchsocial.com. If anyone's interested in my coaching, then just DM me. I can also give you the link to my scheduler, so you can schedule a call. But because that's what I'm ramping up to get advertisers ready to go for 2020 and make sure they're doing it right. So if you're in my coaching, DM me, or I can give the link to you, Maddie, if you want that freebie, www.midastouchsocial.com. And then if you want to follow me and see what content I'm producing, you can follow me on Facebook, which leads to my Facebook group, and Instagram as well.
Amazing. Oh man. Well, this was a ridiculously amazing episode. I am so glad you came here and just absolutely over-delivered. Wow. I just want to thank you so much for coming on the show right now.
Oh, it has been my pleasure. It has been so fun. Maddie, you're a great interviewer, and you ask really, really great questions.
Awesome. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. All right, guys. So go and check out Lisanne. Get that free cheat sheet she was talking about, and if you want to work with her, I mean, if you hire her, I'm sure you're going to absolutely dominate it and crush it in 2020 and way beyond, and for the next decade, so you can build the business that you truly desire. Thank you for tuning in, guys. I'm Matty Milligan. You can find out more about me, of course, at mattymilligan.com. I will see you guys next time on another episode of The Underground Marketing Conspiracy. Woo!